Here's how to destroy your life in your 20s, a full guide, step by step. And these are 10 of the most common fatal mistakes, from money traps to relationship spirals, and what each one actually costs you. I haven't made all of them myself, but I've seen what happens when people do. And a few I've lived firsthand. Let's start with the one that hits for most people. The first one being spending like you'll be rich later. When you're young, it's easy to think, I'll figure out money later. So you spend like the version of you 5 years from now that is actually rich. A weekend trip here, Uber Eats every night, subscriptions you forgot to cancel. You swipe like future you's already picking up the tab. But he never signed off on that. You treat your 20s like they are a warm-up round, a tutorial before the real game starts. But the XP you rack up here, it counts, and so does the damage. At some point you look up and realize your finances aren't just messy, they're chaotic, and worse, you feel behind. Like everyone else evolved into Gardevoirs and Metagross, and you're still back here hustling with a level 22 Dustox. For me, I was living frugally, eating home-cooked meals, skipping luxuries, cycling everywhere. To be honest, I still do that most of the time today. But even then, I didn't have a vast understanding of money. I wasn't tracking anything, I wasn't building high-income skills. I thought just not spending was enough, but that ignorance has turned out to be expensive too in terms of my time. I didn't invest, I didn't save with intention. I didn't know what my future self would actually need. So even though I wasn't spending wildly, I still feel lost. Like, I was dodging bullets without ever building armor. So if you're now spending like you're already rich, you're basically using Hyper Beam turn 1 and now you're recharging. And life doesn't wait its turn. You wanna know one of the most efficient ways to sabotage your 20s? Avoid every hard conversation. Stay silent when something hurts, keep the peace instead of speaking your truth, and let discomfort rot into resentment. I used to believe that if I ignored the problem long enough, it would fix itself. That if I just waited it out, the anxiety would fade. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. It metastasizes. You think you're keeping things stable, but you're actually letting fractures deepen. With friends, with partners, with family, with your own boundaries. Because when you don't talk about what's real, you slowly start to feel fake inside. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was avoiding assertiveness to maintain likability. That was my mask. And I still do that sometimes to this day. What was I hiding? It was fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of being disliked. I thought I was keeping the peace, but really? I was delaying the war and eroding my own leadership, and the outcome of that was internal self-disgust. Feeling like a complete wuss, and ironically, others would lose respect anyway, they wouldn't like me more for that. But what I realize is, assertiveness doesn't have to be aggression. It can be a form of direction instead. And it starts small, it starts with these micro-assertions. Correcting little things, setting the boundaries earlier than you used to. If you have this issue, here's a new move for you this week. Call out one thing you disagree with in a calm, firm tone. You won't die, I promise, and your self-respect will grow from that. I've learned that courage isn't confrontation. It's actually clarity, and clarity only comes when you choose to step into the hard conversations instead of always sidestepping them. In Pokemon terms, it's like trying to avoid your rival, but that doesn't make them go away. And they'll show up at the worst time. So speak, even when your voice shakes, that's how you level up. The next one is chasing hookups and calling it growth. Modern dating often tells you to keep it casual, to stack experiences, to learn from every partner, to sleep around. It's all part of, quote-unquote, finding yourself, right? Until one day you realize you've been collecting Pokemon you never trained, just cycling through names, movesets, memories without evolving anything real. This is the illusion, that quantity builds character, that more experiences equal more maturity. But sometimes it just means more confusion, more heartbreak, more disconnection. And I get it. I was there myself. Intimacy is powerful, it's validating. But when it's not paired with intention, it becomes noise. Dopamine without any sort of direction. I've seen friends chase a string of hookups like it's a side quest for self-worth. Each new partner promising the same thing. Excitement, meaning, and some sort of escape. But it never really sticks. And I have also been there myself. You start to feel hollow. Not because casual dating is necessarily wrong, but if you're just doing it to distract yourself, you're not actually growing. Deep down, you probably wanted love. Real love. Not just romantic love, but self-love. The sense of being seen, chosen, and safe. But you settle for novelty. Pokemon gives you a team of 6, not 60. And the best trainers, they don't catch everything. They commit to building something strong. What no one tells you in your 20s is that commitment is a risk too. It's a form of courage. The courage to say, this matters. I'm going to give it a real shot. So date with intention. Learn who aligns with your values. Choose depth over drama. Love isn't something you find when you slept with enough people. It's something you grow when you stop hiding. So stop collecting partners like badges and start training your team. The fourth one is working a job that's not in alignment with you. This one is a sneaky one. You get a job, it pays fine, the people are nice, there's free coffee, you don't hate it, and so you stay. Years pass, you're suddenly 29 years old. You keep telling yourself, this is just temporary. I'll figure it out soon. But comfort can be a trap. The truth is, your job doesn't need to be toxic to be wrong for you. Sometimes the biggest danger isn't burnout, it's actually just that you're drifting slowly. And drift is when your life is vaguely quote-unquote fine, but your soul has been muted. You clock in, you clock out, and you lose track of who you were dreaming of becoming. You forgot what lit you up, what you wanted to build. You stop thinking in what ifs and start thinking it at least. At least it's stable. At least it's not terrible. But think about it, not terrible, that's a low bar for the one life you get. For me, I didn't have a nightmare job. I had a pretty nice chemistry job. A quiet one. A job that let me hide from my potential. I could have stayed forever and slowly faded into someone I never chose to be. But that would be like running around in tall grass forever. Grinding, safe and predictable, but never stepping into the Pokemon League. That way you never test yourself, you never evolve. I'm not saying go ahead and quit your job recklessly tomorrow. But I am saying listen, pay attention to that quiet itch that says, this ain't it man. In this day and age, you are meant for more than survival. And you are meant to train with purpose. Chapter 5 is never trying anything that might fail. If you want to destroy your life in your 20s, here's a solid strategy. Only attempt things you already know you're good at. Play it safe, wait until you're ready, and avoid anything with even a 10% chance of failure. That means no meteor mash on your metagross, because you'll of course miss eventually. You'll feel safe, you'll feel smart, but you'll also feel kinda stuck. Because growth doesn't come from perfect plans. It comes from taking action consistently over a long period of time. And that also means imperfect action. From trying, tripping, and figuring it out mid-fall. I've seen so many people wait for the ideal moment to start a business, to post a video, to ask someone out. But that ideal time, it almost never shows up. But opportunities, they do. And they are often dressed up like uncertainty. When you avoid failure, you don't just miss out on success, you miss out on becoming the person who could succeed. It's like refusing to leave Oldale Town until your starter has evolved. You're over-prepared for a journey you might never even take. So if you decide that you actually don't want to destroy your life in your 20s, give yourself permission to suck. Because you will suck when you start out at something first. You need to lose a couple of times, you need to be embarrassed, you need to recalibrate. That's how you build stamina, direction, and courage. The first time I published a video, I hated it. It felt cringe. But I knew that waiting wouldn't make me better at making videos, and it wouldn't make the fear go away either. So I posted it, and I got better, because I got started on it. And I accepted the flaws and the imperfections. No one evolves on pause. So go and try the thing, even if it flops, even if it's awkward, even if you're not sure you belong yet. Because the people who succeed, they didn't have fewer failures. They've failed more times than you've dared to try. Your 20s aren't the time to protect your ego. They're the time to test your edge. So go out there and fail something on purpose. Chapter 6. Numbing yourself with vices. This one doesn't hit you all at once. It slowly creeps in. You surely didn't mean to build your life around quick dopamine hits. But slowly, you stop looking forward to things that take effort. And start craving whatever numbs you fast. The list is really long, but a few of them is scrolling, drinking, junk food, adult content, weed, vapes, binge watching, gaming marathons. None of them are inherently evil. But all of them are super easy and accessible. And when life feels heavy, ease is addictive. You start reaching for the phone instead of the journal, the fridge instead of the walk, the stream instead of the friend. It feels like relief, but it's actually erosion of discipline, of clarity, of self-trust. I've been there, nights where I'm not even enjoying the YouTube binge, I just can't bring myself to do anything else. Or days where I'd scroll until I was angry, not entertained. But it still felt better than facing the fog in my mind. The problem isn't the vice, it's the pattern, the autopilot, the disconnection from your own agency. Pokemon taught us this too. Use too many full restores, you run out. Spam the same move, you get punished by mechanics like PP, confusion, and diminishing returns. There is no item for avoidance. Sometimes the real flex isn't resisting temptation, it's replacing it. Try a cold shower, a workout, a focused 30-minute sprint on something that matters. Not because it fixes everything, but because it reminds you that you're still in the driver's seat. Your brain rewires itself based on what you feed it, so stop feeding it scraps. You don't need to go into monk mode, but you do need to notice what you're avoiding and why. Because if you don't, the things that used to help you unwind will start becoming the things that unwind you. Chapter 7. Not interacting with the world. This one is the fastest way to isolation. And here's how that isolation sneaks up on you. You stop reaching out. You stop making plans. You stop asking questions in class or at work. You convince yourself it's easier this way, more peaceful. There's less pressure. But humans aren't meant to be spectators in their own lives. And staying disconnected, it costs you more than you think. I've seen what happens when someone spends too long inside their own head. Every problem gets bigger. Every fear echoes louder. Every idea feels heavier. And it becomes more and more difficult to get in contact with that person. You don't grow by retreating. You grow by rubbing up against the world. By hearing feedback, taking hits, laughing with people, asking dumb questions, and navigating awkward silence. It's like playing through a Pokemon game, but never talking to any of the NPCs. You'll find that you'll be lacking a bunch of useful things in your toolkit. And I get it, the world can be overwhelming, especially if you're neurodivergent or socially anxious. And also if you've been hurt before. But there is a difference between resting and retreating. One fills you up, the other empties you slowly. I'm not telling you to be a slow social butterfly. You just have to engage. Look people in the eye. Say good morning to the person that passes you. Go on that walk without headphones. And actually notice who's around. Meaning isn't found in solitude. It gets created in collision. So I encourage you, talk to the barista, join that Discord, sit next to someone new. Let life actually give it an opportunity to interrupt you. You can't catch anything. You won't proceed if you don't talk to the essential NPCs. Chapter 8. Surrounding yourself with people who drain you. You become who you hang around. Not all at once, but gradually. It starts seeping in jokes, in habits, in how you speak about your goals. Or whether you speak about them at all. And if the people around you are constantly negative, small-minded, or just stuck, you start shrinking to fit. This isn't about cutting people off the moment they struggle. It's about noticing who's invested in staying there, who scoffs at your ideas, who talks a big game more than they actually do, who pulls energy instead of feeding it. In your 20s, friendship inertia is real. You keep people around because they've been around. Old classmates, roommates, gaming buddies. But the real question isn't, do I like them? It's, who am I when I'm with them? Are you inspired? Are you energized, supported? Or are you drained, deluded, and performative? Pokemon makes it obvious. If your team is holding you back, you switch it up, you evolve together, or you box what no longer fits. I've had seasons where my circle was full of amazing, kind people, but none of us were actually growing. And eventually I realized being liked isn't the same as being lifted. It takes courage to seek out new rooms, to talk to people above your level, to admit that you've outgrown a specific dynamic that made sense to you a couple of years back. Your environment is training you every day, so make sure to train with intention. You don't need a perfect team, you just need people who make you better and are not dragging you down. And if you don't have them yet, go be that person first. Go where the builders are, the curious ones, the kind ones. The ones who actually want to listen to you and ask you questions. Because who you surround yourself with will quietly shape who you believe you're allowed to become. Chapter 9. Ignoring your body and mind. There is a dangerous myth that you can outrun yourself in your 20s. That if you hustle hard enough, distract yourself long enough, grind endlessly, your body and mind will just somehow keep up. Trust me, they won't. Ignore your sleep, and you'll start forgetting things that matter. Ignore your diet, and your moods will swing with every sugar spike. Ignore your mind, and you'll become a stranger to yourself. In your 20s, you can get away with it for at least a while. The late nights, the caffeine, the party lifestyle. But drinking every weekend, chasing dopamine instead of healing, it wears on your sleep, your skin, your gut, and your mind. The mental clutter, it starts to pile up, and eventually, the toll really shows. I'm currently 29, and I'm starting to notice a great filter of the people that has taken care of their body in their 20s and the people that don't. There's a stark difference between those people, because I promise you, your body starts keeping the score very early on in your 20s. Even if you feel like, I'm 21 years old and I can easily go on 4 hours of sleep and start drinking, it quickly starts piling up. And even your mind, it starts shutting down the parts that make life feel vibrant. When you're drinking every weekend and not getting enough sleep. Imagine walking into a gym battle with half your team statused and with no healing items. Sure, you might still win, but it's gonna be messy. And if you don't heal up right away, you won't have anything left for the next fight. I used to think that being high functioning meant that I didn't need to rest, that I could get away with those 6 hours of sleep and I can just push through everything. I just need discipline, then I'll be good. But now I know that strength is knowing when to pause. It's when to chill out, when to stretch, when to talk to someone. And when to let go of things. This chapter isn't about hitting the gym 7 days a week, but it's about noticing, about tuning in, about realizing that your body and mind are your only real party members, and if you treat them like enemies, they will stop fighting for you at some point, probably earlier than you realize. So the action steps from this chapter you can consider is drink some water, go outside, journal for a bit, eat some vegetables, take a nap, meditate, talk to someone kind, or even go to the gym. Because when you enter your 30s, realize that those 30s, they don't start at age 30. They started with the habits, the thoughts, and care you build in your 20s. That's the foundation for everything that comes next. Chapter 10. Ignore what you already know. There's a kind of knowing that doesn't come from books, videos, or any advice you hear online. It comes from your gut, from within. From that quiet sense that says, this job isn't right for me. This person isn't good for me. This path isn't mine. But in your 20s, it's easy to ignore that voice, to rationalize it away, to say, well, maybe I'm just being dramatic, or it's too risky, or the guys I'm following say I should do this instead, or everyone else seems to tell me that I should just stay here. So what happens? You stay, you settle, you distract yourself. Imagine having the perfect HM move, but refusing it to teach it because I don't teach HM moves to my party members. I need a HM slave for that. Or even worse, because somebody told you, you don't need flash to go through this cave. Don't teach that to your Pokemon. Are you stupid? But here's the thing, your gut doesn't speak in full sentences. It gives you these small micro-tensions. When you're restless, it's a version of you that keeps whispering, this ain't it, man. We need to change something. And let me tell you, you don't need a full 5-year plan to start listening. You just need to be honest with yourself. Ask yourself, where have I been pretending not to know? Because most of the time, the truth isn't hidden. It's just inconvenient. I've had moments where I clearly knew something wasn't working, but I kept going anyway. Because changing directions, it felt embarrassing. I didn't want to start over. And honestly, I didn't really trust that I actually could. I didn't really believe in myself, that I was good enough to do that. But life isn't a straight shot. It's a zigzag. And every time you listen to that inner signal, it gets louder, clearer, and stronger. You start trusting yourself more. And your 20s aren't about finding the definitive quote-unquote right path. They're about becoming someone who can tell when they're on the wrong one and course correct faster. So teach the move, make the pivot. Trust that inner voice that whispers to you, you already know. So this was 10 ways to destroy your life in your 20s. And maybe some of the ways to rebuild it too. You don't need to fix everything overnight. You don't need a full plan. You just need to be a little more in tune, to have a little more courage and be a little more honest with yourself. My recommendation, take the one that resonated the most and actually drop it in the comments. And maybe even share some advice that you wish that you had when you turned 20. For all the Ethans out there who haven't started their journey yet. Because this video isn't about regret. It's about taking the next step, the pivot, the gut feeling. And if you're still here, it means you're evolving.